Hello friends, welcome back to Aunt Debbie's Boutique. We are on block 9 of our 12 block sampler quilt, and I think you're going to find today's block very easy. It is another one of those blocks that actually probably looks better in a whole quilt made up of the same block because of the way it highlights the features of the block. So it only takes a few pieces, and I'm going to show you another new technique for making half square triangles. We've been making them 2 at a time with 2 squares on right sides together, and then we sew down both sides of the middle. And then in one of the videos a few back, we made 8 at a time where we sewed in 2 angles. Now, if you need to know what size square that you need to cut in order to get the number of triangles you want, you can Google it and just how to make 8 half square triangles or something to that effect. And there's all sorts of charts out there. And so that's where I go, because I never remember to, I do know that when you're making 2 at a time, you go up a ½ inch from the size square you need. So if you need a 3½ inch square half triangle, you want to use 2 4-inch squares. But it gets more complicated the more triangles that you're making. So just Google and find one of the charts. Today we're going to make 4 at a time. Now we made 8, but we're going to make 4 this time. And all you're going to need is one 4½ inch square. That's going to be the center of our block. Then you need a contrasting, well, first of all, you need a 7-inch square of that same fabric. Then you need a contrasting fabric, and you need 2 7-inch squares. And you need the background, 1 7-inch square. So what we're going to do is put right sides together, and I am going to put a few pins in it so it doesn't move on me when I'm sewing. And this time what we're going to do is we're just going to put a 1/4 inch seam all the way around the edge. So we're not going to do any diagonal seams like we do for 2 half square triangles and for 8. Okay, I'm going to take these over to the machine and stitch them up real quick. Now that we've sewn those, we are going to take our straight edge and our blade, and we're going to line it up on the corner of our stitching, not necessarily the corner of what we cut out, because that's not always the exact corner of our stitching. So corner to corner of our stitching, and then we're just going to cut right through it. Then we're going to go from this corner to this corner and cut right through it. And I'm having issues cutting, but I don't think it's my blades. They've all been replaced. It's this old cutting mat, and I've got a new one on the way. So, okay, there's those 4. Okay. Now we need to iron these open, and we're going to iron towards the dark side. I don't think it matters whether you go the dark or the light, just as long as you're consistent. And which I'm ironing to the light side, so let's iron to the light side. After we get these all ironed, we're going to, okay, I'm going to continue ironing to this yellow one. And hope that works out. I may have to change midstream. We're going to trim these to 4.5 inches, which they should be very, very close. But we want to make them exact. So I'm going to take my 4.5 inch ruler, and I'm put one corner on my seam here and one corner on the other end. Boy, that's just barely big enough, but it is. And then I'm going to trim the other 4 sides. And finish it with my scissors because my cutting issues. Okay, let me finish these and then we'll assemble our block. Okay, now that that's done, we can assemble our block. That's my least favorite part, but it's one of the most important parts. Okay. We're going to put the ones with the background squares in each of the 4 corners. Then we're going to put these like this. Can I get this one right? Yes. So we have kind of a lopsided star here. And then this kind of frames it, and when you put other blocks next to it, it picks up this same pattern, and you have this hexagon moving through your quilt with stars in the middle, and it's real pretty. Okay, by now you probably know the routine, but we're going to fold the middle one over on top of the first one. I'm going to take it to my machine and 1/4 inch stitch all the way down. if you've been watching the videos, you know I like to use a scant 1/4 inch seam, but I've given lots of tips and information about this quilt in many of the videos, and so if I forget something in this one, it'd be beneficial if you just watch some of the other ones, because I can't remember what I've said when. Okay, I'm going to take these over, chain them, then I'll come back and add these to each row. Now it's important when we have two half square triangles that are going the same direction, both diagonal, that you set one on top of the other, and because we ironed everything to the yellow side, that seam allowance is going that way and this one's going this way, so they will nest real well. Okay, here's our rows all put together. Now we need to flip them. They're still attached because of the way I chained them. And I'm going to iron the top row towards the center. No, away from the center. This one towards and these away. I think that's what. No, I want to, well, there's a half square triangle on both sides of these, so I was trying to avoid ironing any of them against their will. So it really doesn't matter, just as long as they're opposite each other. Now, if you end up with a bulky seam allowance because you ironed something the wrong way, or you catch it wrong when you're sewing it, it's not the end of the world. This just makes everything lay so much nicer, and you want to try to get as many of them laying smooth as you can. Okay, now we're going to sew our last seams. And because we ironed these different directions, this seam is going this way, the back seam is going that way, and the seam itself, the seam allowances are pointing those directions. The seam itself is sitting right on top of the seam on the other piece, and you can feel it when it's nested in there. Sometimes it helps to pin it. Sometimes I like to just feel for it, but both methods have worked and both methods I've messed up on. So I'm going to pin these two to get started. Now we're going to do another 1/4 inch seam, then we'll come and do the last seam. So we have two more long seams to do, and our block will be done. Okay. Our block is sewn together, and I'm double checking to make sure I don't have anything turned the wrong way like I tend to do. And I think they're all turned the right direction. Some of my points could have been a little bit better, but it's not real noticeable. So let's iron this real good on the back. And I'm just ironing these both the same direction, but at this point it doesn't matter which direction you iron because we're not going to put any more seams on top of it until we construct the quilt. Okay, let's now, move the camera, sorry about that. Let's see if we have a 12.5 inch block. I'm going to fold this so that the two seams are meeting here and put a crease in it. The same down here. You don't want to make these sides match. You want to make you want to find the center of that center block. And then I'm going to do the same thing this direction. Just line those seams up as if you were going to sew them together. Okay. Now I'm going to put this crease on a line and this crease on a line, and we should have a 1/4 inch sticking out on all sides, and we're a tad bit shy at the top of this one. But it's the best we can do at this point, and I'll try to compensate for it when I put the sashing on it. What happened to there's my crease. Oh no, I'm gonna line this up, and then it should be a 1/2 inch. Well, it's just barely big enough, but barely works. Now let's do it this direction. There's that and that. Yeah, this direction's better. Okay, that is our finished block. I hope you've enjoyed this and learned something from it, and I hope you are working on your own quilt. I would love to see everybody's quilts, but I don't know how people can post pictures on the comments. If there's a way, let me know. Otherwise, I might have to open a Facebook page or something so I can see the makes that some of you do. It would do my heart good. Okay, thank you for joining me. If you would, please like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever you can do. It helps me to bring more videos. And we are now 3/4 done with our quilt blocks. And I'll be back tomorrow with block number 10. Remember, whatever you do, do it to the glory of the Lord. Okay, here's a PS. I forgot to show you my other colorway, the block in it. I actually think I matched my corners a little bit better on it, but I'm still pleased with both blocks. So you can tell how just totally different fabric can change a quilt immensely. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.